The seat was 2A. Graham had booked it 6 weeks ago, window, first class, the red-eye from Portland to New York that left at 11:40 and landed at 7:20 in the morning, which gave him exactly enough time to sleep 4 hours, review the quarter-end summary, and arrive at the office before anyone else, so that he could control the first version of what the morning would look like. None of that had been working lately, controlling the first version of things. He boarded at 11:20, stowed his bag, opened his laptop before he was seated, and looked at the seat beside him. There was a woman in it. She was perhaps 55 or 60, in a dark green cardigan and flat shoes, holding a tote bag on her lap, looking out the window at the gate with the distant expression of someone whose attention is somewhere the window cannot show her. She did not notice him standing there. He checked his boarding pass. Seat 2A. He looked at the seat. He looked at the woman. He looked for the flight attendant. Dana appeared in the aisle within 30 seconds. She looked at the situation with the practiced assessment of someone who has resolved seat conflicts 2,000 times. She said, "Ma'am, I think you may be in the wrong." Graham said, "It's fine." Dana looked at him. He said, "Leave her. I'll take the aisle." He did not know why he said it. He told himself later that he had done the calculation, the hassle of the exchange, the woman's obvious distress, the fact that the aisle seat in first class was not a meaningful sacrifice, and had decided the efficient thing was to leave it. That was partially true. The other part was something he did not examine until later. He took seat 2B. He opened his laptop. He did not look at the woman beside him. Before we continue, if you believe that the conversation you needed most was always going to find you, even at 35,000 feet with nowhere left to run, please like this video, subscribe to Kindness Tales, and share this with someone who needs to believe in people again today. Her name was Ruth Calloway, and she had been a 5th grade teacher for 31 years at the same elementary school in a small city in Ohio where she had grown up, and where she had returned after college because her mother was alone, and then stayed because the children needed her, and then stayed because she could not imagine being anywhere else. She had taught 1,142 children, which was a number she knew because she kept a list, not obsessively, just carefully, the way she kept all things, because each name on the list was a person she had spent a year trying to see clearly, and names mattered. Her sister Margaret had died on a Tuesday of a thing that had been coming for 2 years and that had arrived anyway like a surprise, the way things you know are coming still arrive like surprises when they finally come. Ruth had flown to Portland on Wednesday. She had spent 4 days doing the things that need doing, the arrangements, the calls, the specific exhaustion of grief that presents itself as logistics. She had not slept since Tuesday night, which was 5 days ago, which she had calculated on the jetway with the specific irrelevance of calculations made when you are too tired to stop making them. She had boarded the wrong row in the dark. She had not noticed until the man appeared beside her, and then he had said, "Leave her," and sat down in the aisle seat and opened his laptop, and she had thought, "I will thank him properly when I have a sentence in me." The sentence did not come for 2 hours. The flight took off at 11:53. The cabin lights dimmed. The man beside her typed steadily and then stopped typing, and then stared at his screen, and then closed the laptop, and then opened it again, and did not type. Ruth watched none of this directly. She was looking out the window at the dark below, the specific dark of the country at night seen from above, the scattered lights that each meant someone awake, someone working, someone unable to sleep. But she was aware of it the way teachers are aware of things, the peripheral attention of someone trained to read a room. She said at 1:47 in the morning, without planning to, "Thank you for the seat." He looked at her as though he had forgotten she was there. He said, "Of course." She said, "You didn't have to do that." He said, "It wasn't a sacrifice." She said, "It was a kindness. There's a difference." He looked at her for a moment. Something in this sentence had landed differently than he expected. He said, "Where are you headed?" She said, "Home, Ohio." He said, "Portland visit?" She was quiet for a moment. She said, "My sister died. I was there for the arrangements." He said, "I'm sorry." She said, "Thank you." She was younger than me. That's the part I keep forgetting and then remembering. He did not say anything. He had learned in 46 years of being a person who was good with words in professional contexts that there were moments when the absence of words was the only correct response, and this was one of them. He sat with it. The plane moved through the dark. She said after a while, "What do you do?" He said, "I run a venture capital firm." She said, "What does that mean practically?" He looked at her. Nobody had asked him that in years. People knew what it meant, or pretended to know, or did not ask because they assumed the answer would make them feel ignorant. She had asked it with the direct, unjudging curiosity of someone for whom not knowing something was simply the beginning of finding out. He said, "We take money from investors and put it into companies we think will grow. When they grow, everyone makes money. When they don't..." He stopped. She said, "When they don't?" He said, "We've had a difficult quarter." She looked at him with her pale green eyes. She said, "How difficult?" He said, $200 million. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Is that yours? The 200 million?" He said, "No, it's the investors." She said, "Then who are you most worried about?" He opened his mouth. He closed it. He said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You said we've had a difficult quarter, but the money isn't yours. So I'm wondering, are you worried about the people whose money it is, or are you worried about what it means about you?" The question arrived in the space between them with the specific quality of something that could not be taken back. He sat with it for a long time. The plane moved through the dark. Below them, the scattered lights of the country. He said, "Both, but mostly the second one." She said, "That's honest." He said, "It surprised me." She said, "It shouldn't. You seem like a man who has spent a long time being right. Being wrong for the first time in a while is disorienting." He said, "It wasn't the first time." She said, "No, but it might be the first time you couldn't explain it away." He looked at her. He said, "You're a teacher." She said, 31 years, 5th grade. He said, "That explains it." She said, "Explains what?" He said, "You ask questions the way someone who has spent 30 years with 10-year-olds asks questions. Like the answer is already there, and you're just waiting for the person to find it." She smiled, the first real smile that had been on her face since Tuesday. She said, "That's exactly what it is. 10-year-olds know things they don't know they know. You ask the question, and then you wait, and they find it." He said, "What if they don't?" She said, "They always do. You just have to be willing to sit in the silence long enough." He said, "Most people aren't." She said, "No. Most people fill the silence. They think silence means nothing is happening. But that's when everything is happening." He took off his glasses. He set them on the tray table. He rubbed his face with both hands, the gesture of a man taking off the last layer of the performance. He said, "I haven't slept in 4 days." She said, "I haven't slept in 5. He said, "I'm sorry about your sister." She said, "I know. Thank you." They were quiet for a while. Below them, dark. Above them, dark. The thin aluminum of the plane and the 6 miles of air between them and the ground and the particular suspension of being nowhere, not where they had been, not yet where they were going. The in-between space that a red-eye flight creates and that most people try to sleep through. He said, "What was she like?" Ruth turned her head toward him. She said, "Margaret?" He said, "Yes." She said, "She was the brave one. I was the careful one. She made the big decisions fast and lived with whatever came. I made small decisions slowly and tried to make sure nothing went wrong." He said, "Which worked better?" She said, "Neither. Both. She had more adventures. I had more certainty. At the end, she had a life that looked like a story, and I had a life that looked like a plan. I used to think I had the better version. He said, "And now?" She said, "Now, I think they were just two different ways of being alive. And I miss her so much, I can't find the edge of it." He did not say anything. The plane moved through the dark. He thought about the quarter. He thought about the investors. He thought about the specific way he had spent the last 4 days, the calls, the meetings, the explanations, the management of other people's perception of him, and he thought about what Ruth had just said about two different ways of being alive. He said, "I built this company in 8 years, from nothing. I was right about things that everyone else was wrong about, and I made a great deal of money for a great many people. And I think..." He stopped. She waited. She did not fill the silence. He said, "I think I have spent the last 3 years being so certain that I stopped listening to the things that were trying to tell me I was wrong. And now $200 million of other people's money has told me in the loudest possible way, and I still keep thinking there's an explanation that makes it not my fault." She said, "Is there?" He said, "Partly. Markets, timing, things outside my control. But the part that was my fault, I knew. I knew 6 months ago that something was wrong, and I didn't stop because stopping would have meant admitting I had made a mistake in front of people who were counting on me not to make mistakes." She said, "What would have happened if you had stopped?" He said, "We would have lost less. Not nothing, but less." She said, "So the thing that cost you the most was not the mistake. It was being unable to say you had made one." The sentence landed the way her sentences kept landing, not with force, not with judgment, with the specific gentleness of something that is simply true and is being placed in front of you without commentary. He said, "Yes." She said, "That's the thing about being the careful one. You spend so much energy making sure nothing goes wrong that when something goes wrong, you don't have any practice accepting it." He put his glasses back on. He looked out the window Ruth had been looking out for 3 hours. The dark below them was beginning to lighten at the far edge, the first gray beginning of a morning that was still 2 hours away. He said, "How do you do it? 31 years in the same classroom. Children who don't listen. Parents who blame you. A system that doesn't pay you what you're worth. How do you keep going?" She thought about it. She said, "I keep a list. Every child I've taught. 1,142 names. When I have a bad week, and I have bad weeks, plenty of them, I look at the list and I think, these are people in the world. Some of them are doing well and some of them aren't, and some of them I'll never know about. But I was in their lives for a year and I tried to see them clearly. That's all I had to offer. And it was enough." He said, "How do you know it was enough?" She said, "I don't, always. But I know it was what I had. And giving what you actually have is different from giving what you wish you had. It's the only thing that reaches people." He was quiet for a very long time. The gray at the edge of the window widened. Below them, the dark country was beginning to find its shape. He said, "I think I've been giving what I wished I had for a while. The version of myself that was always right. And people could tell, and I couldn't." She said, "You can now." He said, "Because a stranger on a plane asked me the right question." She said, "Because you told the flight attendant to leave a tired woman in the wrong seat. If you hadn't done that, I'd be in row 14 and you'd have spent 6 hours pretending to sleep." He looked at her. He said, "Why did I do that?" She said, "I don't know. Why did you?" He thought about it. He said, "You looked like someone who needed to stay where she was." She said, "Yes, that's it exactly." They did not sleep. They talked through the gray dawn, arriving at the edges of the window, and the breakfast service, and the descent announcement, and the specific compression of altitude that signals an approach. They talked about Margaret, and about 5th grade, and about what venture capital actually was, and about a student named Deshawn who had arrived in Ruth's class unable to read and had left it writing stories, and about what it felt like to watch a person find the thing inside them that was always there. When the wheels touched down at JFK at 7:14, the cabin brightened and the seatbelt signs chimed off and the ordinary business of arrival resumed. Phones on, overhead bins, the managed urgency of a plane emptying itself. Graham stood. He got his bag from the overhead bin. He got Ruth's tote bag, which was too high for her, and handed it to her without being asked. She said, "Thank you, for the seat, and for the conversation." He said, "Thank you for sitting in the wrong one." She smiled. She said, "Take care of yourself, not just the company, yourself." He said, "I know. I'm going to try to learn how." She said, "You'll be fine. You asked good questions. That's the first thing." He walked off the plane. She walked off the plane behind him. In the terminal, they separated. His driver was waiting. Her connection was in Terminal B. The city received them both in the indifferent, efficient way cities receive everyone arriving at 7 in the morning. He did not get her name until later. He had seen it on the luggage tag of her tote bag when he lifted it down. R. Callaway, and a small city in Ohio, and he had written it in his phone. 3 weeks later, when the quarter-end review was done and the investors had been spoken to honestly for the first time, and the explanations had been given without the parts that made them not his fault, he made a donation to the elementary school in the small Ohio city, where a teacher named Callaway had spent 31 years keeping a list of 1,142 names. He did not attach a note. The school principal called to express gratitude and asked who had directed them. The administrative assistant said only that it had been an anonymous donor who had heard about the program. Ruth received the news at the end of a Thursday school day. She stood in her classroom after the children had gone, beside the whiteboard where 31 years of small lessons had been written and erased, and read the email about the donation. She looked at her list. 1,143 names now, a new class, a new year, always another child arriving who needed to be seen clearly. She thought about a man in a charcoal blazer pushing his glasses up his nose in the dark of a red-eye flight, asking questions he did not know he needed to ask. She thought about Margaret, about the brave one and the careful one, and the two ways of being alive. She turned off the classroom light. She went home. She had papers to grade. If this story moved you, please like this video, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Kindness Tales for more stories of courage, grace, and the small human decisions that turn out to matter more than anyone knew. And tell us in the comments, has a stranger ever said something to you that stayed longer than they knew?